You're listening to Potty Mouth Radio, the home of movies, music, television, and comedy.
And now, the hunt for the perfect album.
Hello and welcome back to the Hunt for the Perfect Album with Billy and Dave, where we look at, it says it on the tin, perfect albums, and this is one of them. You're going to agree. Because this week is my choice, and I've given you the first album I ever owned on CD. It was given to me by a very good friend.
See, before you had a framework of reference, before you had any sort of discerning taste, just literally nothing to compare it to.
This is one of my favorite bands, Eels. They are extremely eclectic. Every album is different from the last. They've done grunge, they've done psychopop, they've done folk. This is their folkiest album. It's Daisies of the Galaxy from the year 2000. Let's get straight into it, Dave, and tell me what you thought of Daisies of the Galaxy by Eels.
It's pretty good.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. You didn't love it?
I loved it. It's a really, really good album.
Oh, nice. Nice.
As you know, the only... Well, I thought the only Eels I knew was Novocaine for the Soul because it was on some Britpop compilation CD I owned at uni.
Yeah.
Turns out, when I got to track 15 on this album, I knew the shit out of that track.
Mr. E's Beautiful Blues? Yeah, that's the secret bonus track that I knew you would have heard of.
I have heard that about 1 billion times.
Yeah.
I don't know where or when, if it's been in stuff or if I just knew it.
So that song was used quite a bit. It's really funny. When this album came out, I think this was their first album that was signed to... I can't remember exactly who the label is, but whoever it is was a sister company of Universal Pictures, which is why, of course...
Copyright owned by SKG, if that...
Okay. Which is why, of course, the Eels were used very heavily in the Shrek films. I don't know if you remember that, but My Beloved Monster and Me from Beautiful Freak is used in the first Shrek film, and they actually wrote a song that was used in the second Shrek film called I Need Some Sleep, which is another great song.
The only thing I remember from any Shrek film is incessant use of Smash Mouth.
Yeah, okay, yeah. But the bonus track on this album, Mystery's Beautiful Blues, the first time it was used in film, and I think it's been used many times, was actually in Road Trip. What's his name? Sean
really?
Something Scott. And
I know Road Trip very well. I love Road Trip.
Yeah.
And, I love Euro Trip, so...
And so the video clip for Mystery's Beautiful Blues was actually, it was all the cast of Road Trip, in a bus and shit. And so he was very angry about it because he's not commercial in any sense of the word. So I think this may have been the last album that was, owned by that record label. But yeah, so there you go. So I knew you'd know that track. But let's get into it.
Yeah, Band-Aid Off. That's the one that's my pick for the playlist.
Oh, okay. So that's still your favorite from this album.
I think.
Okay.
Fuck, I need to hear more. I'll wait till you play a bit of it because I'm not sure. I thought it was. Now I'm not sure. All right, let's get into it. We kick off with Grace Kelly Blues, which is a fucking cracking, really nice song. Love it. Big Tom Waits vibes off this. You've got there's a big instrumental interlude, like 2/3 the way through.
Yeah. That
could have come straight off Rain Dogs.
Yeah.
It's got that sort of brass and accordion completely out of left field from the earlier part of the song, but straight that came in. I was like, oh my God, I'm in my happy place. This is like, I'm like this is like something off Swordfish Trombones. This is Tom Waits all over. I love it.
Paris in the hot August heat, sun melts in the fake smile away, just looking for a place to stay. The actress gave up all her old dreams and traded up. Now she is a queen.
Oh man, I love that song. That's the first Eels song I ever
really
heard
good.
of it. Like I said, this was the first album
Yeah,
I
it
ever
would
owned.
be,
So
yeah.
you start at track 1, and yeah,
There you go.
I love that track.
Because that's what you did, kids, when you had albums in the olden days.
Yeah.
In the before times, you started at track 1. You didn't get a fucking choice in the matter. No, really, really good. I love that. It's and one of my favorites off this album.
Yeah.
Just take it as a blanket for every track that the lyricism on this is really good. The writing of the songs is
I mean,
really, really, really good.
I'm going to tell you right now, I won't give you any more Eels albums on this show. So go ahead. If you liked this album, go ahead and just... I mean, there's literally... I'm going to say he's got 30 albums at this point. Like, there's so many. He's got a new one coming out next month. Just go... And everyone is different from the last. They are all... There is not a single style that you could say, oh, this is the Eels. Like, I've seen them live 3 times, and every time it's entirely different. He did an entire tour with strings, which you would know about because I gave Girl from the North County on my best covers playlist.
Yes.
But yeah, one time I saw them live and it was just all grunge. It was just like every song, even songs off this album, I Like Birds, they did like this really heavy grungy version of. Like, it's just totally different every time you see them.
Well, then we go, track 2, we got to Packing Blankets, which is a very pleasant song. Don't probably rate it quite as highly as the first one, but I think Grace Kelly Blues is a particular standout on this album. But Packing Blankets is very nice.
Yep. Fair enough.
Then track 3, Sound of Fear, kind of playful. I got a real Supergrass vibe off this, if that makes sense.
Yep.
Very cool instrumentation. You got kind of organ coming through, but you've got like 80s sort of synth as well.
Definitely.
It's really electronic notes through there as well. I found that on a number of tracks on this album, surprising instrumentation where things that you didn't expect come in. We'll get to those other tracks later, but certainly on this was definitely one of them.
Yeah.
You might remember me as the one who let you down, but never made another sound of fear. Some people like to call me Chuck. It's Charles and you are shit out of luck.
I love his voice as well. You spoke last week about Rush and, and the distinctive voice. I think E has a very distinctive voice, and not just a distinctive voice. The one thing that does carry across all of Eels' albums, even though the styles are very different, is the production, and particularly the production on E's voice. When I was a training sound engineer back in the day, and I was recording albums not just for myself but for other people, I remember sitting there and trying to emulate the production on his voice and thinking, how the fuck is he doing this? Because I'm pretty sure that what's happening is that there's multiple tracks. So, but I love the sound of his voice. I love it, particularly on this
It's really
album.
weird. I spent most of this album thinking, I really like his voice.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
Because it reminds me of something else from that. These guys are American, aren't they?
Yes, yeah.
Yeah. But weirdly, almost all with a couple of exceptions, almost all the parallels that I drew from the sound of them from that early 90s, late 80s Britpop era.
Yeah.
Like bands like Supergrass. But I spent most of this album going, I love his voice, and it reminds me of something, and I couldn't put my finger on it.
Yeah.
Then I got to the bonus track, and I went, oh, it reminds me of this, which is actually him.
Yeah.
So maybe he's got a very unique voice, and it doesn't sound like someone else, because the thing that I'm pretty sure the thing that I was going, oh, I can't quite think of it.
Yeah. Was actually him.
That song.
Yeah.
Yeah, weird. So then we get to I Like Birds, which is super quirky and fun. Not one of the standouts, but it's
interesting.
It's a lot of fun.
For a long time, this was my favorite track, and it's not any longer. But yeah, when I first had this album, this was one of the tracks that I just played on repeat. I loved this track.
It's super fun, but
birds. I don't care for walking downtown. Crazy auto car gonna mow me down. Look at all the people like cows in a herd. Well, I like birds.
I know it's probably, lyrically it's the weakest on the album. It's very basic. It's literally just I like birds. But there's something about the instrumentation of that track that I just really, really enjoy. It's like you said, it's very playful.
Yeah. I don't know if it's something. I don't know if it's the kind of seemingly superficial, almost comical subject matter of the songs.
Yeah.
But much as I'm, as you know, unfamiliar with the band as a whole, but a lot of the tracks on this album were making me think back to 90s stuff like Short Skirt, Long Jacket and like
Yeah.
House with Guns and like there was a lot of those sort of, I don't want to say novelty songs because it cheapens them because musically they were all great.
Yeah.
But there was a kind of a trend for kind of frivolous lyrics.
Yep.
And that's, I think, particularly I Like Birds, but a couple of the others as well, were making me think back to some of that stuff from that same era.
Yeah.
Not surprising because I mean that's this came just off the back of a lot of those artists, I guess, because this is what, 2000?
This is 2000. Yeah.
Yeah. What do we get to then?
Then we get to the title track. Yeah.
Title track, which is a cracker. Loved the title track. Loved it. Weirdly, one of the well, not one of the shorter tracks because they're all short tracks, but it's a short track. This song felt twice as long as it is, but
it does, yeah.
Not in a bad way.
Yep.
This felt like an epic track.
It does.
And it's about 3 minutes long.
Yeah.
I don't know what it was.
I know what you
really
mean.
liked it.
It's a weird thing to think about an epic track on this album where nothing is really epic. And yeah, like you said, the song is only 3.5 minutes long. But lyrically, I think it feels very large. I love the scale of the song. I love this song.
And even musically, I found myself thinking, oh, this song's been going for ages. And it had been going for a minute.
Yeah.
But not in a bad, like I'm sick of it. Just like a lot's happened.
Yeah. Yeah.
Far from the street where you learn how to be not what you are. Up on the shoulder there is a town with a little motel and an old movie house. We'll go to a movie, whatever it is.
Yeah. One of my favorite songs of all time. It's so beautiful. I love that song.
Definitely one of my probably top 5 on the album.
Yeah, okay. All right. Have we hit your favorite yet? I mean, apart from, the bonus track.
Yeah, it's hard. Grace Kelly Blues is certainly in the running, as is the next track, Fly Swatter.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, yeah. Big fan of Fly
which I
Swatter.
Really fucking loved. I thought it was just super catchy. Loved it.
Little field mice living under the house, never eaten much, tough life for a mouse. And if you think you're gonna be spared, you're wrong.
Yeah, that's a great song.
One of the best so far. Yeah,
Yeah.
No, really, really like that. Then we get to It's a Motherfucker,
Yeah.
which I'm sure you mentioned
I think I have.
on a previous episode.
Yeah.
Yeah, at odds with the title. Super kind of sparse and lean and pared back, and
it has slowly become my favorite track on this album. It's now my favorite.
Oh, it is. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, not my favorite, but I really liked it, and I love the fact that the style's sort of at odds with the title of the track, and the whole thing's a little bit surprising.
Yeah.
Thinking about the good times, thinking about the bad, and I won't ever be the same. It's a motherfucker getting through a Sunday.
God, fuck, that song is so good, Dave. That song is so good. I mean, I adore every track on this album, obviously, which is why I threw it at you, but that one in particular, the more I've listened to it over the years, it just really, really hits home to me. It just feels so raw and so real, and like so much of E's lyrics, it's so playful in nature, and it sounds so silly, but it's so true. Like, I can't describe it. I really love that track.
Not surprised. That's the one I probably would have picked as your favorite.
Yeah.
So starting to see, generally speaking, you if there's a super slowed down, pared back, well-written track, that's going to be your favorite on whatever it is. We get a weird little kind of 1 minute intermission, I guess, with the next track.
Yeah.
Which is fine. And then we get to another one of my favorites, Tiger in My Tank.
Okay. I'm glad you like this one.
I really, really like this as well. Yeah, as I said, it's definitely one of my favorites. It's just super fun. I love it.
Yeah.
I bought some Rockstar ashes from the back of Rolling Stone. I guess he wouldn't mind it. They couldn't sell his soul. The tiger in my tank is going to go extinct, and I'm not feeling so good myself. I think I'm on the brink of disaster.
Probably the most rocky one on this album.
That's the bit when I liked it. Then you hit that chorus. I was like, oh yeah, fucking love that.
Yeah.
It's really, really cool.
Yeah.
What do we got? What's next? What do we got? We got Daisy Through Concrete. It's a great fucking title.
Yeah, and a great song.
I like this a lot. Super Beck vibes. You mentioned Beck before as being, I think, the second album. This could be a Beck song, really.
Yeah. I could totally see that.
Well, Jeannie's Diary. I really like this. It's a very, very pretty.
Yep.
Very, very nice.
This one reminds me a lot of Elvis Costello.
More of a focus on keyboard and strings, and not as sort of guitar or drums or anything heavy. Lot more of kind of the softer instruments, and it gave it a really nice tone that made it stand out, and I think worked really well with the lyrics of that.
Yeah.
Such happiness. Oh, she's got a dark side too. Even murderous. But I love that just like her. I don't have a chance at writing the book. I just wanna be a page. Jeannie's Diary.
When I was a kid, like I said, this was the first album I ever had. This was easily my least favorite track on the album.
I can imagine that.
But it's grown on me so much over the years. Yeah, big fan of that
It's
one.
very pretty.
Yeah.
As is the next one, like Wood and Nichols. I think just the lyrics of this song are just beautiful.
Wood and Nichols was always a favorite of mine. I think it's one of the most folky on the album, at least lyrically.
Yeah.
And yeah, I always dug this. It reminded me of like Woody Guthrie or something. Yeah.
Yeah, I can see that.
Had to get out of the house, had to use my feet. And you may not think much I think so damn much of you. Don't take any.
Yeah, big fan of that track.
Yeah. Nice. Can we go a bit country with track 13?
You reckon? I've never thought of this as country.
It's literally the only note I've made about something sacred. Bit country in feel.
Okay.
I got country vibes off this.
Smelling piss and beer and gas. That could be me in a couple years. Sucking fumes under the highway pass on a rainy day. Well, I wear newspapers for pants and a t-shirt that says
Damn, I'm good. I guess it's kind of country. Yeah, I can feel that. Yeah.
Then we finish off very strong because we got track 14, Selective Memory, which could be a Neil Young song.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
It literally sounds like something off Harvest Moon.
You can see it off Harvest. Yeah,
fucking loved it. You've got that sort of not quite falsetto, but that kind of Neil Young pitch voice.
Yeah. It's quite a short song too. It's only about 2 minutes.
Yeah, loved it.
wearing that polka dot dress and sitting by the stream, leaning in to hear you. You will whisper in my ear, and everything I need to know, I finally hear.
Yeah, I do love that track. Yeah.
You
You know what? I'm going to bring
Young
it back up for the chorus.
Remember, but my selective memory
Won't let me. Oh, man. Just a great piece of lyricism there, too. Yeah. That's nice.
I just as soon as it started playing, I was like, "Oh, look, this could come straight off any number of Neil Young albums."
Yeah.
It's just loved it.
Yeah.
And then obviously we get to the fucking Big Boy, which I've heard 10 million thousand trillion times before, and just didn't know I had.
You know, one thing I want to talk about before we play this one. We've spoken about the art of the album, which is lost. But you know what's really been lost through streaming is the art of the hidden track. Because when I bought this album, and I spoke about this when we listened to Blink-182 a little while ago, that the interludes weren't listed on the album listing. They were just part of those tracks. This track, Mystery's Beautiful Blues, is not part of the track listing of this album. It is... When you get to the end after Selective Memory, there's about a minute and a half of silence, and then if you were clever enough just to leave this disc rolling, you get this track. And this is the only way this track was ever released.
There was so much of that back when
Yes.
physical media was unskippable. Or even CDs had their own kind of thing where you had tracks that weren't in the track list.
Exactly, because even with vinyl, you can see the separation. You can see where a new track starts. You would have been able to tell something like this. Then CD came along.
Magic. I mean, you had things like albums like Drill Your Own Hole that came without a fucking hole in the middle.
Yeah.
I mean,
there are albums. I don't know if you've had any of them. I've read about albums where, depending on where the needle drops, you actually get a different song, even on different sides, because the needle just picks up the right groove.
Certainly on, Well, you could have essentially two side A's.
Yes.
Where you had two different routes for the needle to travel that had completely different tracks on them.
Yeah.
And CDs, obviously, you had things like you could have music videos on there as bonus tracks. You could have all this stuff, and it's all kind of lost. You don't get any
100%. Because these days, like your experience would have been, you bring up this album on Spotify, and there this is, track 15. When I was a kid, this track didn't exist. You just had to leave the album playing, and you'd be lucky enough to hear it. and yet this is what's crazy about this album to me. This was the single. This was the only hit on this album, is a track that is not even on the track listing.
Load on the road brings a tear to the Indian's eye. The elephant won't forget what it's like inside his cage. The ringmaster's telecaster sings on an empty stage. Goddamn right, it's a beautiful day.
So when I had this album, I didn't even know what this track was called. I just called it "Goddamn Right, It's a Beautiful Day" because that's the line that repeats in the chorus. I didn't know this was called Mystery's Beautiful Blues.
I'm surprised this album's as late as 2000, because in my mind that song's in the same era as "Still My Sunshine" by Len and whatever that fucking annoying Sugar Ray song was. And there were just a lot of songs about being in LA and being in the sunshine, and America's great. So that's kind of where I lump it. But obviously it's significantly later than those. It's a good 5 years after most of that stuff.
Also, I'm glad you enjoyed this album. How are you scoring it out of 10?
Yeah, I loved it. 8.5.
Nice. That's got to be one of the highest that you've given.
It actually might be the highest.
Yeah, nice. It's a great album. I'm very glad you enjoyed it. What are you giving me next week, mate?
Oh, we're back in Canada again.
Again?
Good old Canada. I'm giving you an album by divine Canadian songstress Jane Siberry. And the album is called Bound by the Beauty.
I've never heard of nor that album or the singer. So, all right. Jane Siberry. What was it called?
If you like, Bound by the Beauty.
Bound by the Beauty. All right.
If you like Joni Mitchell, you'll probably like Jane Siberry.
Okay. All right.
It's kind of a lot of similar DNA, I think.
All right.
But different enough to make it worthwhile.
I'm keen. In the meantime, if you want to get in touch with us, you can do that at pottymouthradio.com. Check out the whole rest of the Potty Mouth network. Dave and I talk movies over on We Watched a Thing. Noosk and I talk Friends over on the one where we watched. And we all play a bit of D&D over on Time to Die, which is a heap of fun. So check that out. Do. And all right, we'll catch you next week with some Jane Siberry.
Yeah, we will.
And I'm going to play you out with some Eels. This is Daisy Through Concrete.
Yeah. Nice.
Wake up the dying, don't wake up the dead. Change what you're saying, don't change what you said. Now that it's time that I got out of bed, when I walk myself down Sycamore Street, the sun beats down, no shoes on my feet, and